Hello everybody, it's Metatron here, and today I wanted to do something different and actually show you how I make my music. So here I've got the project loaded up for my cover of 2Mello's Media Blues that was used in the game 2064 Read Only Memories, which if you have not played it, you should, because it's fucking amazing. And this was made for the Pixel Mixers album, Indie Games Volume 2, and this was actually the first track on the third album. And if you've never heard the original Media Blues before, I'm going to play you a snippet of it real quick, just so you can get a taste of it. For the most part, it's just that, but as you can hear now, 2Mello adds some electronic variation in the background in the form of some interesting sounds. And that's pretty much it. I actually really enjoyed that song, and I was really looking forward to covering it in this album. So, what I decided to do for my take on it was basically go for smooth office slash porn music. And according to the Discord chat, I accomplished that very well. But, anyways, what I really did for the song was just slow it down a little bit and go with a lot of vintage synths. Like, the keyboard here is just a massive preset called Pia Bell. And I combine that with this HX7 EP preset in whatever plugin this is. I can't remember the name of it right now. I think it's Harmless. And all that really does is just kind of add some stability to the first electric piano thing that we got going here. And if I play them together, you'll kind of see what I mean. Oh, hold up. Forgot if you do that, it'll actually mess with it. Sorry, I just need to find the proper thing. I forget which one it is. Dang it. Gotta unmute all the effects channels. Alright, it should work properly for us now. Alright, so you kind of see what I was doing there. Sorry that the hi-hat kind of caught you off guard. And yeah, that synth hangs on forever too. You can still hear it kind of fading out. I love that. Alright, and then for the bass, I went with... Dang it, which one? Here it is. This is another massive preset called Courthouse Funk. I went with it just because it's really stable. Why is it doing that thing? Sorry, just a second. There we go. Yeah, so if I play that with the keyboard, congrats, that's the majority of the song right there. And then as far as percussion goes, I really have an affinity for like the Roland TR-808. That's like the sound of the 80s in my opinion. So I went with that for the majority of the percussive sounds in this song. And just mix that together with the intro percussion, which is actually just a very basic version of the original song. So once we combine that all together, you get the actual song. Just a second here. There we go. And then, of course, there's some variation in the bass later on, like as you can hear here. And then there's some more percussion sounds that come in as the song goes on, just to add variation. That's the big thing I wanted to do with this piece, was add variation, because that's kind of what the original one does as it goes on. And I really wanted to emulate that and just kind of add layers on it until it just kind of all comes together. So you can hear the clicking sound from the TR-808 there, with a lot of reverb on it, mostly to make it sound real spacey. And then just a bit of accent there from Massive again. Just add that at the end of it, just to make it sound real nice. Alright, and this part here actually has a little bit of interesting stuff going on here, because it's actually just a pitch shifted version of the main theme of 2064 Read Only Memories. Let me pull up the original for reference so you can understand what I mean. So yeah, all I did was recontextualize that in this song, and it actually came out pretty well. See, I feel like doing that helps to connect this piece more to the main game itself. Also, I threw it in just because it's variation, and it's a fun little reference to the actual game. And then this part is where I started getting a little crazy with the variations and actually started doing different things. And you can actually hear a little bit of TR-808 cowbell in there as well. And I put that arpeggio in there just because I thought it sounded cool. I didn't really know how to end that little sequence there, and I figured that rather than just a solid chord, I thought an arpeggio would do nicely. And then right around this area is where the solo synths start to come in. And the reason I made them like that is because they really cut through everything. It's kind of a breath of fresh air after you've had this huge chunk of what is kind of the same stuff, and then you really start getting like that kind of comes out of nowhere, and it keeps the listener interested. You just kind of go, oh, what is that? You can hear more of it. And since I don't have a MIDI keyboard or anything, what I had to do to make that vibrato happen was actually automate it in the piano roll, which you can hear here. Alright, this is where things start getting interesting, because this is where the song takes on a different quality, mostly because I went with the key change just to mix things up a bit, and this second part's a lot of improv. Yeah, that second half for me is just ear candy. I just like the way it sounds a lot. And what a lot of people don't know is there's actually vocals in this song right around here. They're very, very hidden in the background. And it's just, I just took me singing different pitches and made a chord out of it. I'll see if we can, let's see here. I gotta make sure I do this right, otherwise it's gonna cut all the effects. So, here. I'll just show you where I put it in piano roll. Yeah, so it's just a B flat major chord, and I just stuck it in the background there and just put in an envelope for the volume. So, let's see here. Yeah, that's it. And it just hides in the background while all this synth stuff is going on. It just kind of adds a little bit of stability. And I guess it's also just kind of a nice little bonus if you can actually hear it. And then here we got a little pad going through Nexus. I just added that in for a little more variation too, just right around here. Because like I said, everything really starts coming together around this point, and it just kind of becomes this thick synth blanket. Or if you're with your woman, this is where your pants start to fly off. Alright, I don't mean to brag, but this part coming up right here, This came to me out of nowhere, and I just put it in the song, and at that point I was like, oh, well, this is what I'm doing with the song now. This is probably my single favorite part of the song right here. That part to get the key change back to the original song. And I added a new snare drum in the second part of the song, just right around here. That is not the snare drum, god damn it. Let me see if I can find it. Where is it hiding? Oh, yep, it's right here. I just added it on top of the regular drums. And I don't know if you can hear what's going on with that, but there's actually kind of a gated reverb thing going. It's not supposed to be clipping the last part there. I'm not quite sure what it's doing. But yeah, I've got a thing I made in Patcher a while ago. I've got a preset set for gated reverb on snares and gated reverb on bass drums. And it's pretty simple, honestly. Because you can use the noise gate in the Fruity limiter to actually mess with that stuff. And all I have to do is change the threshold. So let's see here. There we go. That should be a little better. I don't mean to solo that. Yeah, and I just feel like that adds a little stability and variation, honestly. It just kind of really ties it all together and puts a nice little bow on it. And then, like I said, the original comes back to, or sorry, the second half of the song comes back to the original key. that's really the gist of the song. From here, the only real different things I start doing is once everything kind of starts to fade out, and I phase certain instruments out, then there's kind of one little power chord at the end. I suppose it's not really a power chord, it's just kind of the synths from earlier making one last final appearance while everything just kind of fades out. And yeah, that's the song. Now, I didn't go over the beginning, so I'll go ahead and do that now. The beginning, I went for an older style sound with the equalizer in order to be like, or in order to kind of give this a retro feel. And the phone call, the reason for the phone call is the area of the game that this song appears in is an office. It's TMI Entertainment. That's why the whole conversation happens in the beginning. And there's a secretary there who presumably answers phones because they're a secretary. And so I emulated what a conversation would sound like in this little imaginary game world.
TMI Entertainment, how can I help you today?
And then you can hear later on, says, "Thank you very much, Turing. Have a nice day." Turing is the name of the little robot that follows you on the adventure. I don't know. I just thought that little intro would be something fun to do and be a good way to actually get into the piece and give me time to get all the instruments introduced and then go from there. As far as mix levels and whatnot, everything is just made in automated envelopes. Like right around here is where the equalizer will cut off and it'll actually go back to normal. That's what I was having a little bit of trouble with earlier, because if I try to solo something, it gets rid of that and goes back to having it sound like old radio. And I don't want that. And I got some phone ringing sound effects, a waiting room sound effect. That I usually get all that stuff from freesound.org, just because if you can utilize their search engine properly, a lot of the stuff is just out there in the public domain for you to use freely. So if you need sound effects, I highly recommend making an account on freesounds.org, because also once you download something, it actually saves it in a history on your account. So if you ever lose it, you can actually go back, find it, and it makes everything really simple. It's honestly a really good project, and I adore it very, very much. Then inserts here are mostly for letting things fade out. Like this one is for the arpeggiolator. As you can see, both of those are on channel 6 in the mixing board. And that's what that's tying into. And the reverb here I did with the synth solo just to make this middle part pop out. You can hear it. So you can hear the reverb get really thick there, and I did that to emphasize like the peak of that synth line, just because to me that's the ear candy. That's the part that I love about this song in particular. I also got both those synths on insert 9, and I just increased the volume just very slightly right around there just to make it really pop out. And those little things that you do will really help the things in your song come forward and actually stick out to the listener. And honestly, I think that's about it. I feel like I've covered things pretty well for this song. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to leave stuff in the comments. I would be happy to go over this again in the future, or just go over anything that you guys might have questions over, just because a lot of this was on the spot and I didn't really rehearse any of this, so there are a few things that I might have gone over. So like I said, if you want to hear anything, leave a comment and I'd be happy to answer your questions or get back to it in the future. And I'll call this good for now. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys have a good day.